Hey folks, it's Sunday night. I hope you're all having a great evening. And we are here to do a new widget. And that widget is for the storage container. So, what we've done is, I'll show you what we've done. We have taken the inventory main, which has the two separate sides, okay? And we've basically copied it. We've renamed it, and then we've taken the inventory items, right? Similarly. And we've duplicated that as well. Now, the code inside these is going to have to change, and the way we build this is going to have to change. But theoretically, we can use this as a basis for our storage widgets. Okay? So, without further ado, let's get rid of that and rid of the inventory. And let's start working on it, shall we? So, if we go to storage main and we look at this, this is good. We get the controller, we're going to need that. We build the grid inventory. Now that's going to have to change. Then building the craft grid, that's going to change. Right? But we can use these. So this is the inventory grid. And we are actually this is going to be a storage item. Or is it? In fact, it actually isn't. Right, so what we could do in this case is we could run it first and see what we get, to see if something actually matches up to what we actually have. Right? Now, I'm not expecting it to have the correct thing here, or the correct size of thing, right? But we can check it out to see if we can use this or not, right? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to save this. Now I don't know if I've set up the storage containers to save, and if you hear any snaps in the background, it's me trying to hit mosquitoes with a fly swatter, which I'll probably end up hurting myself with, but don't you guys worry about that. And now I don't know where to put the fly swatter because it's not really at hand. Right, anyway, so first thing we've got to do is we've got to make this actually do something, right? Because if we can't see the storage thing, hang on a second, there's a mosquito on the window next to me. I got one of them. There was two. Right, so one down, one to go. So if any of you guys see it in the back, give me a shout. Right, anyway. What was I doing? Oh yeah. Right, so basically when you click on it's a base building we have to look at here, right? So we go to buildings, base building, this is it here, okay? So this is our storage container, Okay. So we're going to do, we need a little bit of rearrangement here by the looks of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move all of this stuff up. And then we're going to move this stuff up. Okay. Right, so we're going to do that, that, and that. So basically we're going to do this. Okay. And this isn't going to be, this is going to be storage main. Okay. Then this is going to go in here. Then that's going to go in there. Save that. And that's us now set up to show our storage container. Now we do have our storage container here, which means we can click on it. Okay, so that should taller, and there we go. So this bit here should move over to this part here, right? Because this is the in hand. Okay. So let's do that. So all we need to do is stop this. We come back to our storage main. Okay. And if we build the inventory grid, what we're going to do here is we're going to stop this and we're going to build our first thing first, right? Which is our inventory grid. Now, the inventory grid, we're going into GP storage, which it shouldn't be. It should be GP inventory, right? We will be using that, but that is for a different thing. So we can basically move that to there. Right, and we can drag it in here, and we're going to be reusing a lot of code here, and having another swing and a miss at a mosquito again. I'm waiting on it landing. Right, so in between my mosquito fight, we're going to press continue again, and our inventory should now be on the right. Okay, we're reusing a lot of code here, which is great. It's always good to use. There we go. Right, so that is what our player has in his inventory at the moment. That is correct. Okay. The other one was showing what was in the warehouse. Sorry, it was showing this on this side, which isn't the storage container, right? This is showing what's in our hand. Now we're going to have to put some buttons in the middle so that you can like select one of these and then like pass some values over, right? So we'll have like arrow, double arrow, and then arrow that way, double arrow that way, right? Now that's the way I'm thinking of working on it. These buttons are going to have to change so that you can click on one and it becomes selected so that you know what you're transferring. Okay. But the next thing we're going to work on is what is actually in the storage bin. Okay. So, with that in mind, we have to stop it. And we have to build up what is in the storage bin. Now, I know for a fact that what is in the storage bin is actually, well, it's not that, but we're going to do that. So we're going to get storage, right? We're going to just do this as is for starters, and it's not going to come from here. It's not going to come from a data table, but bear with me on this, guys. We'll gradually just build it up as we normally do, and we'll get it working all in good time. Okay, so that's good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to change the name of this to build storage grid. Okay, and then this can get moved back because we do want this to run. Okay, so that's great and all, but it hasn't really done anything for us yet. Right, let's see what this is. That's a close button, so that can stay whatever way it wants. Now, this is where the fun starts. This is going to come out. And then we're going to have to get the building. Okay? We're going to need a reference to the building. Okay. So, if we go back to our base building, we're basically going to be doing this, right? So, what we're going to do is we're going to get a reference to self. And that's going to get plugged in a second once we actually do our thing that needs done. Okay, so this is going to be building, and it's going to be a BP base building. Okay. And it's going to be instance editable and exposed on spawn. So now we can go back here, we can refresh the node, then we can pop it in here, and that's us. Okay, so with that done, we now have a reference to the building, which means that we can pull our building in, we can get it, and we can look at the output component. Which apparently it doesn't have. Oh, that's output. Output. That's the output spliner. So what we're trying to do here is find out, okay, it's going to play silly buggers. This is BP storage, and there's comp output. Okay, the storage unit does not use comp input, right? It only uses comp output. So everything that enters into the storage goes into storage output or comp output. Okay, so what we can do is get comp output. Comp out. Well, apparently we can't. Hang on a second. Base building. Right, the base building doesn't have it. Okay, that's fine. We're cool with that. Right. So, in actual fact, what we do here is we cast this. We cast this to storage. Okay. Then we're probably not going to be able to do that. Well, that's coming for a data table anyway, but we're going to be doing comp output. We're going to get it. Okay. And right, so hang on a second. If we go to here and go to comp output, S output, S output, we get that. Okay, and then we do a for next loop on this. Okay, and then we break that, and the interesting thing here is this is going to change to storage item. Okay, this is going to be deleted, and this is going to go in here. We'll refresh that. Okay, we won't. Delete that. Right, we'll refresh the nodes here. And this struct product is a make struct reply. Make struct supply, sorry. So we don't need to do that. This basically goes straight into here. Okay, this is a struct supply and this is a struct output, I believe. So we will in fact break this, but it's probably the easiest ever make supply struct ever. Okay. And I don't think we even need a branch here, we're just doing this for each one. Okay. So that, I don't think that's us yet, okay? I'm not putting that down to it being us yet. But what we can do is we can save that, because we're not going to get the image yet, right? So we're going to need to write that into the individual widget for that to work for us, but we can do that. Okay, so we can build this. And once this has some stuff in it, we can save it. And then we can click on it and find out what that gives us. Okay. Okay, so let's click on it. Well, let's save it first. Right. So you can see we've got 13 bauxite. Okay. So that's all working rather nicely, I would say. Except for the fact that we probably need to put this in, what do you call it? Not a scroll box, but it needs to go, there's a certain type of box, which I can't remember what it is. It's like, there's a special, a wrap, is it a wrap box? Arranges widgets left to right or top to bottom depending on orientation. When the widget exceeds the wrap size, it places the widgets on the next line. Right, so this, or sorry, this is a grid panel. Now, I'm not too sure which way we need to do this, but we'll try this again. Maybe better not worrying about that for now. Hey Dante, it's good evening for me. It's 8 in the evening. So you're in Western Europe or Middle Europe. So this thing here, we want it to go to the left, right? But it's not such a big deal right now, I would say. But what we do need to do is have some buttons down here, okay? Because we're going to have to pass it this way or that way. Okay, so we can stop that for now. So let's try and get the look that we want. And to get the look that we want, we're going to need another vertical box. But the problem is that this uniform grid panel isn't going to do it for us. We're probably going to have to change this to no longer be a uniform grid panel, but just a grid. Okay. Because if we make this a uniform grid panel, then it's going to make these all like 33%. So if I have a set of small buttons in the middle, they're still going to take up 33%. Okay? So that wouldn't be very good for us. So what we'll do in the meantime is we can pop our vertical box and we can basically drop it in here. Okay, so there's a middle one. Alright. And it's going to be column 1, which means that this one is going to move to column 2, and you'll see that now that one's went into the middle, right? So that's really not what we wanted, but we'll work on it. We're going to work our way through it, guys, don't worry. We're just going to gradually work our way through it. So this is going to be centered, and it's probably going to be centered there as well, so we'll leave it at that for now. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to add a button, right? But the button, we're going to have to find out what kind of button we want. And in actual fact, that button is going to be wrapped in a vertical box. Actually, not one, because it's already wrapped in a vertical box. What am I talking about? Right, anyway, so now what we need to do is find an appropriate button. Okay, or whatever it is we're going to do this. Now, I do know that we've got some arrows, right? So we can go with them first and see what we've got. So we've got clear flat icons, right? So let's go icon, arrow, right? And we can use the ones like the ones that well, basically if we look at the trading thing, right, I'll just run it to show you that so that I stay in the same position in directories, right? So we're doing it already, okay, but we're doing it in the trading thing, so we could use the same buttons as these, right? So that's the way we could do it. Stop that. Right? So we can do that. And how that would look would be we could have like the single button. Right? Now, we obviously don't want it to be that size. So we shall make it and it doesn't kind of like that. .64 by 64. Did I do right? This is 128s. Right. What I could do is these ones are all bigger. Right. Let's see what we've got here, right? Has this got the stuff round about it? No, it's kind of just really flat versions. Right? So, yeah, it's kind of more pointy, isn't it? So, if we do the 128 by 128, we have got another set of icons that might give us something similar, right? And if they're lower resolution or lower size, then we might just use them instead. Right, where are they? And now it's going to take me all night to find these, so we might not. So it's not them. Alright, that's the ones we looked at. And I can't find them. Oh well, never mind. Right, so we'll just use that one for now, sod it. Right. And then we shall duplicate it. Except it's going to be like the... let's say the triple one. Okay. I mean, we could use the 2, or we could use this. I don't know if that doesn't really tell the story as much, does it? It's kind of more obvious like that. Right. Getting eaten alive here by flipping, what do you call it? Right, so what I'm going to do now is put a spacer in. And then what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this again. And then we'll duplicate it again. Put spacer in there. Those are all far too big. So we're going to have to do something about that. But first of all, we shall select the first one, and that's going to be there. And then this one is going to be, whoops, we need to select this one. That's going to be like that, except we are going to rotate it by 180. Okay. Now, what I want to do is take a look at the trading one, because obviously those icons are a lot smaller, right? So there must have been some way that I made them smaller. Don't ask me how, right? Right, obviously it does work. It's going to weirdly size at the moment, but we're not going to worry about that too much for now. We just want the effect. So we just do 64 by 64. 64. 64. Right. And yeah, that'll work. So we just change these all to, so we just do that. Then we select that one and that one and change these to images. Okay. And then in our spacer, we basically 25, 50. Yeah, that'll do it. What do you think, guys? And what we're going to do here is we're going to wrap this uniform grid in a grid panel, and then we're going to drop our boxes into the grid panel, right? So where are we? Last one. Okay. And then we can basically take away our uniform grid. Then that becomes what we say it is. Okay. So we can do column fill, and we can say like 40, 20, and 40. Okay, which means that our buttons don't take up anywhere near as much space, and these two take up the same amount of space. So this takes up 40% of the grid, this takes up 40% of the grid, and this takes up 20% of the grid, right? And then what we can do is, in our middle one, we can add in this vertical box right, well, we're not going to worry about that for now because this might actually change, but So we shall paste that. Okay. Right, and I don't know what I did there. I'm hopefully didn't do anything because I should have duplicated it. Right, and then this is going to the top. And then we can basically change this to any number we want, but 100 would do at this point. Okay. So that's all well and good. So let's see how that's looking so far. Okay. Yeah, that's okay. Right, now you see now that this is over to the left, so this is much better. So that's cool. Right. So for each of these buttons, we're going to copy that, then we're going to paste it, and we're going to paste it, then it's going to be image, then and I think this is the first one, right? So yeah, right, so what we'll actually do here is we'll delete that button, and we'll delete that button and delete that button, and we'll use this as a template and then just change our images again. Right, so we'll duplicate that, then that's going to go in there, and it's going to go in there and in there. Okay, why has it changed the size to 64? Has it, or why is it not? Kind of made it nearly pointless in doing the duplicate. Right, so we duplicate it again, then we duplicate it again, then we move our spacer back up to here. Yes, yeah, it's when I change the image it all goes to crap. Right, so yeah, so we'll just do that and then change them, I suppose. 64, 64, 64, 64, 64, 64. Right, and finally this one can stay the same, except it gets spun 180. Okay, stop that, save that. Right, so that's that bit done. And now the next part of the jigsaw, right, is we need to change the individual buttons now so that we can click on them to select them. Okay, so we've got our buttons, we can change the colours, etc, etc. Right, and what we want to do is when we click on this button, the background turns green or something, or if we click on this side, the background turns green, so that's the selected one. Okay, we can just do it either way and check what looks good or not, and then let the player decide for themselves how horrible to make it look. Right, so we need the storage items now. Okay, so we need to look at this storage item, and we're going to have a variable here called is selected. Okay, and it's going to be set to false to start with, so that's fine. But none of this is a button. Okay, so we need one of these as a button. So we could wrap our image with a button. Okay, and that button is going to have 0 padding. And basically we don't want that to be the button. Right, we actually want this whole thing to be the button. Let's have a look at this for a second. I want to see how much padding we have around this thing. Right? Two. Okay, so I'm gonna go for this should be the button. Because that's the whole thing. Or, well, the thing is, what is the brush? Right, the brush is kind of black, but it's see-through, so that border isn't the button either. Right, so this must be the button. Right, so we wrap this with the button. Okay, and the button is going to have 0 padding. And the normal style will be basically see-through, right? I don't think this is going to work I've got a horrible feeling this ain't gonna work. Okay, that. Well, it might. Right. Okay, we'll try it anyway, right? So, what we'll do is we'll make it red for a laugh. Just so that we can see something happening, okay? And then we'll make the pressed red as well. Okay. So, we'll save that for now. Then what we'll do is we'll go back to the graph, and now we've got an on clicked, right? We're going to have to rename it because it's a rubbish name. So it's going to be button selected. Okay. And I'm going to go, guys, and get a cigarette, and I actually need to go to the toilet, so I think now is a good time to do that before we carry on with this button. So don't go anywhere, and I shall be right back in a couple of minutes. Okay, guys, we're back, and we've had a great idea. I always have my best ideas when I go out for a cigarette. So, what we're going to do is we're going to go into our main, okay, and we are going to create a variable, and it's going to be product. It's going to be selected product. Now, having thought about this, all of a sudden it's not quite so obvious a thing. Okay, I'll let you know in a minute why. But in the meantime, if we go into storage item, we've got struct item, which is struct item. We have the struct supply here. Now, the question is, what are we passing into this? Right? And the answer to that is we're passing in struct product. Okay? So this is going to be, actually it's a struct supply. Okay? And the interesting thing here is in the storage item, we're going to have to pass in the parent. Okay, so we make parent, and it's going to be storage main. Okay, and I'll show you why in a minute. So if we come into here again and we refresh nodes, and that was the wrong thing that I just did. So in storage item, we need to make it exposed on spawn. Okay, and then we go back to storage main and refresh it, and then what we do is we pull that back a bit to give ourselves a bit of space, and then we say self, get a reference to self, and do that, right? And the reason for this is when they hit the button, right, it's going to change this in the parent, right, so that we know what the selected item is, right? Now, we really need another one of these. So what we'll do is we'll call this selected storage product, and we shall actually probably duplicate this and selected inventory product. Okay, so I'll show you what I can't really show you what I mean by that in a minute, but I'll show you as soon as we're up and running. Right, so if we go into a storage item, we can now click on our button where'd our button go? There it is. Right, and we can say clicked, right? So when they click it, we basically say this and then we get the parent and we say selected storage item, storage product, except we want to set it set selected storage product. Okay, and then we basically put that in there. Right, so once we're onto the main menu, we can just click the button and we already know what product and how many available we have to actually transfer. Okay, so we don't actually need this as selected. I mean, it might be handy, but we don't really need to use it for now. Right, but the main thing here is that we get this and we set color and opacity, and we'll just set it to something just now. Okay, we'll just set it to anything to make sure it works. Now we are going to have to change it. We are going to have to change this code slightly. We'll just go make it green, right, for the moment, just as an aside. Now this was probably better done what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a function, and we're going to call a function in the main window that basically clears all the colors, and then we set this one as the new one that's selected. Okay, and I could do that as selected as well. It's kind of difficult, Dante, because my monitor is 4K, and if I try to run this Unreal Engine and use the basic 1080p, yes, it might be better for you, but it doesn't fit in the window properly. So it makes it really difficult for me to manipulate the windows and stuff. right? I try to zoom in as much as possible, but that is the furthest zoom I can do. There. Right? So, on that point, what we'll do is, we'll try this again. No, it's not a bitrate problem. It's the fact that it's running at what is it, 2560 by 12 something at the moment. So it looks slightly smaller when it gets converted down to normal HD. Right, so that's red, okay? That's what I wanted. And if I click on that, it's green. Right? Which is what I wanted, kinda. Okay. Now, I don't know, actually, this button selected, right? Should this actually be background colour? I think I've tried this before and it basically wasn't. It basically doesn't work very well. Right? But we'll try it anyway, because we're mental. So I'll move this out the way and we'll run it at that. What I'll do, Dante, is I shall... Right, so that's going red. Yeah, so that doesn't do the background colour thing at all. I did make it black for some unknown reason. Who knows? Right, it doesn't really matter at this point the way it looks, it's the operation that matters, right? So, what we'll do here is, in the storage items, right, what we want to do is clear the colours in the storage item. Okay, so if we go back to storage main, right, what we can do is clear storage selected. Okay, and this is where a little bit of well, is this going to work? In fact, GP storage. Now, I don't know if this is actually going to work. Let's try it anyway. So we'll grab in GP storage, right? And then we'll say get all children. And now the question might be, how many children does this have? So we can do like a for each loop and then just print them out, and then this will tell us if we need to do a recursive or not. Right, so we can do that and then just do display. No, we just do print string in here, and then this will automatically do the display. Go to there, save that. Then if we go to our storage item, then we get the parent, clear, do that. Okay, and we're going to go back to here and we're going to change this to 20 seconds. Let's change it to 30 seconds. Change that to white. Okay, that. Save that. And go. So this is now going to tell us what is in storage item C. Storage item C underscore 0, whatever that is. Right, so we do that, right, and we cast it to there's actually a couple of ways we could do it. We could get all widgets of class for this as well. Yeah, that's probably a better way to do it actually. We could say get all widgets of class, right, and this is going to be storage items. And we may need to change the other one to back to actually inventory items rather than storage items here, if they aren't already, right? So these are going to be storage items. So that can just fit in there nicely. We're not doing that. We're doing that. Then we're doing that. Right? And then these are all going to have a button. Get button selected. Right? And it's going to be color, set color and opacity back to what it was. Right? Which is basically see-through. Okay. Now, in this case, this is probably a better way to this is going to be easier to test on the inventory rather than the actual this one, because we're going to need to put different products into the storage container to actually get the stuff out. This would be quite an interesting one for the combiner though. Well, you'd have the splitter and the combiner. Right, but anyway, that's thinking ahead. So, in here we want to check what we're actually doing here. Right, so it is an inventory item, right? So that's cool. That's brilliant. That's exactly what we want, right? Except we kind of don't. We kind of want a copy of this. We kind of want a copy of the inventory item, because this is going to be kind of, we're going to manipulate this in a different way, right? That's my point. So we'll call this inventory storage item. Now we could probably just use this one, but then we'd need to check wherever else this is used, just in case it basically works in a different way. So it's easier just to use this one, right? And then if we stick it in storage, then we can just basically change that to inventory storage. Right, now that's not going to change anything, but we can change this widget to our liking. Okay. Offline Mo, I do. I started a couple of weeks ago. I've got one on enumerators, I've got one on structures, I've got one on putting items back on a timeline, or how to start a timeline from a specific position. And I've also got one on why not to bind variables to widgets. So I'm working on another one at the moment, which is for the widget switcher, the basic use of a widget switcher. So yeah, there's that. Just some people like watching a stream and watching somebody either struggling or getting tips for their thought processes on how to do something, and it's quite cathartic as well. And it forces me, because I stream twice a day, it forces me to continually develop my game without, so they've both got pluses and minuses, whether you do videos or streams. But videos are quite hard to make, because until you've got a sort of workflow that works for you, it's kind of a pain. Plus, everybody hates hearing their own voice. So when you're recording the audio and then you're editing the video, then it's horrible because you're constantly hearing your voice and repeating it and playing it again and then cutting it up and playing it again, and yeah, it's so this is going to make more sense when we do this to the inventory storage, right? But the first thing we're going to have to do in the inventory storage is we're going to have to pass in the parent again, right? So if we come into inventory storage, we can create our new variable again. Now the inventory storage has already got the product, which is great, and I keep getting attacked by bloody mosquitoes. Mosquitoes tend to love what do you call it, Scottish people, I suppose. Right, so again we're doing parent, and it's going to be, now for anybody wondering, yes, I could just get the parent, right, but I like setting it either, but if you just get the parent then you've got to cast it, right? So it's easier just to pass it in. And then just expose it, and then you know you're getting it and where you're getting it from. Okay, so there's no like, you can't nest and accidentally get the wrong parent or something like that, right? That's why I do that, just in case anybody was wondering and going, why don't you just get the parent? Well, yeah, you could, but yeah, I'm not saying it doesn't get easier, but I just started again doing videos, and as I said, you're back to square one, hating your voice. But yeah, you do make a good point. So yeah, put me off. We go back to designer, and what we've got to do is wrap whatever again with a border, right? A button, sorry. So if we go to storage item and we can check where we put it here, we stuck it around the vertical box, right? So we can just do the same thing again. So we just stick it around the vertical box, wrap with button, and we'll call it button selected. Right, and then if we go to button selected on clicked, we should be able to do basically the same thing as before, right? Which is this here. But it's not the selected storage button, it's the other one. Right, so these are all going to actually change slightly. But we are going to get these. Okay. And we're going to set selected inventory product. Okay. And in the storage item, we're doing this. So we can do this, and then we can write our little thing to clear the inventory buttons. Okay, so back in here, paste that, put that in there, drag that out a bit because we know we're going to stuff something in the middle of this, and we can go back to storage main, then we can double click on this, and we can basically do exactly the same thing here. Copy that. Oops, we don't do that. We can copy this, then we can add a new function, and this is going to be clear. Did I get that there? That was me hitting myself on the shoulder, trying to murder a mosquito. Right, inventory selected. Right, and we paste that, except we don't get the storage item, we get inventory storage, and that should be us. Right. Okay, so we need to do this again. And it's not going to like that. I'm going to have to do that again. But, and selected. That goes in there, that goes in there, and this is going to tell us whether we need to actually do some recursion or not, right? We'll soon find out. No, we won't, because we're getting all widgets, right? We're not actually drilling down through the canvas panel or any other panel. We're actually just straight up getting the widgets for this, so we don't need to do any of that, which is good. So now, in theory, we should be able to run this and see if it... No, we can't. Right, we need to do parent. Now it's inventory. Clear inventory selected. Okay. And this is just going to set us up so that we're ready to basically hit the buttons that are actually going to transfer. And we know exactly what product we're going to transfer and how many of it. Right? So, right, so that's going green. White. Ah, okay. Notice as well we need something here. Right. Yeah, we haven't set up that button yet at all. Okay, whatever. And it screwed up. And that's because we didn't actually do it properly, because we never refreshed that, I don't think. because I'm a doofus, right? So when we actually do this, we need to actually self and plug that in. So that was never going to work, right? And if we open this up, go to designer, then the button is going to be 0, dismiss, okay that. Now I think what we'll do is we'll just leave this blank, and it's only when you click it, right, that it does something. I think that makes pretty much a decent bit of sense. Right, we don't need to really do anything when we hover over it. It's only when you click it we're going to change the background or something to be, you know, a colour or change something else. But as I've said before, it doesn't really matter how it looks for the moment, right? We can worry about that kind of later. So I'm going to make this 0 as well. I'm going to make that 0. Right? So compile that. So if I do this now, the easiest way you're going to see this is the inventory should change colour. Right? The button I select will change colour, and then when I click another one, it should clear every other widget and then recolour the one that we just selected, right? So if we click that, right, now I know why that's happening, so don't worry about it. And then we click that one, it is clearing them all, right? So that's absolutely fine. The problem is that we're refreshing it when we don't really want to. Right, so in here, we're going to take this off for the moment. Okay, so that's that all set up. So if we continue on this one, right, we should see this working better now. So if we click on that, it turns green. Now don't ask me why, but everything's disappearing. Right? But we shan't worry about that. At least we know it's kind of working, right? We can worry about the aesthetics later. And on that point, guys, I'm going to have an early night. So if you're watching or joined, hit the subscribe button. That would be very helpful. And check out the description and join the Discord if you want help or discussion on Unreal Engine stuff. Or join the Patreon to get your name in the credits or the names of buildings in the game. Or check out my previous game on Steam. So good night everyone, and have a great end to your Sunday evening or Monday or whatever day it is you are. Bye bye for now, folks.